Hey, I can't even say guys. I won't. I refuse. This is the fucking Bear With Us podcast. Stupid ass shit that we've done for the last. How long have we been doing this, Frank? 5 years now?
So yeah, something like that. 4 or 5 years.
Six. I think it's six. I think it's six.
Well, are we? Yeah, I guess if you count the corked up days when we were talking about the Cubs like fucking idiots.
Yeah. I'm Jack. I'm Jack. That's Nas. This is Frank. Three of us here to talk about the Bears losing to the Cardinals, 9-29, 20-point loss on the road. Matt Eberflus falls to, what is it, 0-18 on the road on Sunday afternoon games.
Yeah, I think it's just Sunday. I think it's Sunday. He's won road games. I guess that means Thursday and Monday.
London was technically a home game for them, so it doesn't count for some reason, which I think is a little bullshit.
Which honestly is 0-18 that much worse than 1-18?
1-17 or whatever. Yeah, right. The balls. Jesus Christ, that's where I'm at right now. The Bears fall to 4-4 on the season, obviously in last place in the NFC North, on a downward trajectory here. Let's start broad scope. Frank, Nas, how are you feeling after this game? Are you beaten down like me? Are you sad? Are you mad? Are you feeling okay? That's a possible answer, I guess, if you're insane. But maybe one of you feels that way. How either of you feeling after that type of game?
Nas, I'll go first because I don't feel the need to expound. I'm sad.
Just point blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's so good. I feel like I've detached myself from sports reality. I can't feel anything. I'm numb. That's how I'd describe it.
Yeah, I can't blame either of you for being sad or numb, because it's just we've done this podcast, we've said these things before, and it's just it feels like, in hindsight now, it just looks and feels like there was always this freight train just slowly approaching, and we thought we were in the Fast and Furious movie where they drive past the train, they just beat it, and you're like, maybe that'll be the Bears and they won't do the same stupid shit over again when they kept Matt Eberflus. But I mean, clearly, it just, all of the concerns that we all had when that decision was made just being proven correct. He cannot hire or figure out the offensive side of the football. It's he's like Lovey light. He's very clearly Lovey. He's never going to be as good as Lovey. He wants to be like Lovey. He runs the same defense as Lovey. He wants to be the locker room guy like Lovey. But if you hear former players talk about how Lovey would have handled the situation with the Hail Mary, it's night and day. This dude has no clue what he's doing at head coach. He hasn't improved at all in game management. We said all of this last week. And again, you just go on the road, come out flat. You have the quarterback after the game talking about how they were still focused on the Hail Mary. They just couldn't believe what happened last week. It's just a shit show. It's a complete shit show right now.
Jack, can I add, because while we had the worries about Eberflus, and even Nas, you were fucking pounding the front lines of the offensive line. Not that we weren't with you, but you were the first one to bring up listen, guys, I know we've made some moves, but I'm still not nearly as confident. Maybe, again, not to say we were, but maybe we were a little bit to the left of you. But it's also so Bears that some of this shit is happening. Because all those worries we had, they're coming to life, right? So those are okay, cool. I understand that. Lame duck coach now, bad offensive line. We saw that coming. Who in their right mind saw Keenan Allen being this? Who in their right mind saw DJ Moore quitting on plays, going to the sideline, having a fucking all of a sudden shit attitude when, realistically, if you polled Bears fans, I think 80% would have told you they had no idea what his voice even sounded like before this year. I'm serious. It's not only just the bad things. If we sort of put what's the best case scenario and what's the worst case, The worst case is clearly starting to emerge, right? But that's even, you can swallow that. You can be like, okay, we kind of saw that coming. It's because that's what you just described, Jack, and you're 100% correct. But again, all we ever did was fucking love DJ Moore because he's not like a diva receiver. He's not like some other guys. He got paid. He's great. He's awesome. He's a team guy. He was a Justin guy, but he came around on Caleb. But I mean, look at him. It's been since week 2 that we've been saying this. Like, it's been this piss poor attitude out of nowhere, just like tantrums on the sideline going crazy. Like, that's not you. Where the fuck is this coming from now? And again, it's like all these little things that just start to happen. It's so fucking Bears because it just was, none of this was predictable. Not in this fashion, I mean.
I'm
This
gonna
is-
not.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It's-
Go on.
It just feels like a team where there's no accountability. Like, unfortunately, our franchise feels like the fucking Raiders. Like, players are running this
Shout out
locker
Luke
room.
Getsy.
Shout out R.I.P. Luke Getsy. Like, but like, what? Why is DJ Moore feeling comfortable enough on a scramble drill to walk off the field in the middle of a play? Like, I mean, if we needed any evidence that Flus has lost the locker room, that play alone, that's it for me. That's all I need to see.
I saw some people trying to provide like context on that, Dan Orlovsky in particular, where he's like, look at him. He looks like he slides and maybe, twists his ankle and then he steps out of bounds. So he was just taking himself out of the play. And people were like comparing it to the Hunter Henry situation at the end of the game against the Titans, where he also stepped out of the back of the end zone. But it just like, if it wasn't for everything that had led up to that, I would be like, whoa, that makes sense. But with the other context, I saw somebody put it perfectly: where there's smoke, there's fire. And we never had any of these conversations with DJ Moore last year. So even more so, we know how he felt about Caleb Williams. We know or he felt about Justin, I should say. He really wanted Justin to be the quarterback. And, I really wonder with DJ Moore, where it's like, okay, what was his one thing? Right? He was a one read guy, and his one read was typically going to DJ Moore because there was nothing else to throw to. There was no one else. And now that they're trying to run this offense through Keenan Allen, of all people, it's just like, is he just frustrated that he's not getting the ball, even though I think he was second in targets yesterday? So it's just weird. I don't really understand. And Frank, to your point, we were just texting before we started this podcast about DeAndre Hopkins. Like, it's just so Bears that a receiver like Keenan Allen goes to the Bears and just forgets how to play football, apparently, while DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Chiefs and just comes down with the ball in triple coverage. Like, it's just, it's hard not. It's different coaching staffs, it's different players, it's different quarterbacks, but it just, at the end of the day, this just feels just so Bears. It's sickening. That's the word I want to use.
Yeah. I mean, it's so like,
we laugh so we don't cry.
It's it's just so deflating, and it's very clear what they thought this offense was going to be. They thought they were about to roll out the 99 Rams, and what they really needed to do was take a page out of the Lions playbook and start with force and then layer it out. And the more teams start game planning for a power run game, then start spreading the ball out and getting DJ in the middle of the field and running slant plays and making simple reads for Caleb, play action. It's been the exact opposite of that. And because we can't hold on to the ball, our time of possession, I haven't even looked it up lately, but I'm sure it's awful. Because we can't hold on to the ball, we can't get players the ball. Our best players the ball. I just want to point something out. I don't know if you guys saw this. So we just talked about Eberflus's Sunday road record. Would you like to just hear his 14 wins as a coach? Would you like to just hear a little stat?
Just really turn the screws.
Here's the quarterbacks that he's beaten in his 14 victories as head coach: Trey Lance in a monsoon, Davis Mills, Mac Jones / Bailey Zappi, Sam Howell, Brian Hoyer, Bryce Young, Josh Dobbs, Jared Goff in the cold, Kyler Murray, Desmond Ridder, Will Levis, the Rams without Cup or Puka, Andy Dalton, Trevor Lawrence. Those are his 14.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, obviously Matt Stafford is the far and away best quarterback there, but the rest of that list is comical.
Oh my! I mean, yeah. There's like two guys who like have been fringe, like top 15, top 12 guys. There's two guys in there, the 14, like in the past of their career. So, I mean, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. And like, what's annoying about this is like, I'm annoyed how right we've been.
Yep.
Like, we've been saying this about this style defense. When you play good quarterbacks, they dice it up. It's too simplified. He's going to get exposed when a game becomes more nuanced. And he lost one player. Like, we've been without Kyler, we've been without Brisker, but he lost one pass rusher, and this team could not touch a running back before they got 2 yards past the line of scrimmage. It's fucking crazy.
You know what else is funny is we all independently came to this train of thought because it was something that I was not going to put in our text thread, but one of you did. I don't know who it was, but I had literally the same thought the day before. Because, you know, the one thing that we've consistently said is, oh, well, he's a bad head coach, but he's a really good DC. And I'm ready to take that back from the point that you just made, Nas. Because not only, like, again, you know, Montez Sweat is a multiplier. We know how good he is. But it wasn't like this defense was humming and they just added a piece last year. This defense was still really bad, like really, really bad in year 2 of Eberflus until they got Montez Sweat, who allowed the whole defensive line to start to get a little bit of shine. I mean, you know, people look back and I guess like, what is that called? The rose-colored glasses of it all. Like, oh, like he got it turned around. I don't think he did, because now we just saw this defense in the same, I mean, a lot of the same personnel without the one guy who turned this thing around. And it looked just like it did last year. I mean, they can't stop the run. They're not good situationally. You know, the refs certainly didn't help them, but it was the same exact defense we saw without Montez Sweat.
We're soft.
I mean, Jack, was I not saying that last week? The
tackling is awful. The tackling's awful. I think the Sweat injury also, I mean, if you at least for polls, let's talk about, I think this is a good time to segue into like the positives.
Yeah.
From Poles' perspective, he knows outside of Sweat, he does not have a flat out star on the D line. Like this game just kind of confirms it. We have good complementary players to Sweat on the D line, but there's not another flat out star yet. Maybe Dex gets there in year 3. I don't know, but as of right now, he can evaluate the team and he can say that to himself, I think, pretty confidently.
I think I know you said positives, and I guess it's still technically negatives, but I feel like, again, when we go back to talking about the freight train scenario where it's just like we all kind of saw this coming, you could go back to the first draft that Ryan Poles had, where Nas, I don't believe we were associating at that time. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have gotten your thoughts in the moment. But when his first 2 draft picks were a safety and a corner, and granted, they're good players when they're healthy. Like I don't want to take that away from anybody. They're good players. But when you think about this team's deficiencies and how we ideally would have liked to have built this team, looking at what those selections were, it's kind of like, okay, this is why we said what we said when they decided to go with Brisker and Gordon as his first 2 picks. Not building inside out, not building in the lines. And what are the issues now 3 years later? The offensive line is just, I genuinely could not believe what I was seeing against that Cardinals pass rush, which is one of the worst in the leagues. They were generating pressure on a 3-man rush, which is that's just insane to me. And the D-line, like you guys were saying, could not stop the run. They couldn't generate a pass rush, nothing. And it's these issues that we've been having and just kind of saw coming. And again, Frankie, we talked about it last week where with player development, it's like we talked on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, it's like what Nas just said, is there a star on this defense? And I would argue it's probably Jalen Johnson, Montez Sweat are your two best players. I would say Jalen is probably a star. After that, would either of you say that there's another star behind him? You could maybe make an argument for a couple of guys, but like I don't think it's
Jalen would be the guy to argue for. All the stats would back it up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Jalen and Tez, I think it's like far, like there's quite a gap.
Oh, right. Yeah. If we're talking like who's number 3,
the rest of the team.
Yeah, like I guess what, Brisker when he's healthy.
This year it's probably been Brisker, but over the last few years I would
probably
say
been
TJ
Byard
Edwards
this year, dude. Byard's
been good too. Yeah.
So it's just like when you think about the construction element of it, the coaching side of it, the development side of it. This is why we were just in shock that Matt Eberflus was retained, because you had an opportunity you had the first overall pick. You had an opportunity to do things different. We thought this thing was going to be different. We have Kevin Warren in place. He's just obviously very clearly focused on this stadium thing that who knows if it's ever going to happen. But we had Ryan Poles, who seemingly understood what we were all seeing in terms of player identification. Like it seemed like a good fit. You had an opportunity to get rid of this bridge coach, the Ricky Renneria, if you will. But then you keep him. And again, now we're back to the situation where they draft a quarterback with a coach who a lame duck season, John Fox with Mitch Trubisky, Matt Nagy with Justin Fields, and now it'll be Matt Eberflus with Caleb Williams. It's just
unreal. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm giving Foles too much credit. I just don't know how you could watch the way this team is played under Eberflus and want to retain him. I would not be shocked if ownership asked him to keep him for one more year because they didn't want to pay 2 coaches for more than a year.
You can never take out the money side of it. I don't think that should ever.
I mean, why are we plagued with these ownership groups? I just it's so frustrating we're in a top 3 market. Like, why can't we just fucking pay these guys if they suck and get them out of here and get the right person in?
Yeah,
we got so lucky. Ben Johnson's going to be available again this offseason. We got very lucky that he's going to be available. We have a great opportunity this offseason to get a legitimate coach in here. So if we want to talk about another positive, we know Flus is gone.
Yeah.
We know that the coaching market, the Bears' job's going to be the best job. I do want to say also, Caleb played okay in the first half.
Yeah, we'll get to Caleb. I want to
made some throws in that first half, and they could not get on schedule, and he was digging them out of it in that first quarter and second quarter, over and over again. And these fucking drop passes, dude. Oh my God.
Yeah. The only thing that I have, Nas, is while you could be correct, it could be an ownership thing. What I truly think in my heart of hearts, which I disagree with it, but at least I understand it, is I think going into year 3, first of all, there were a lot of reports about there were a lot of closed door meetings. There was a lot of meeting of the minds and things with polls included about Eberflus's job security. So we know the conversation at least happened. But I think Poles left saying, this is your Justin Fields year. This is your year to prove to me you have the pieces that I've built for you. Show me you can use them. And it's been the same old. Because, again, we've talked about this. This roster is better than it was last year, just like it was the year before that. It's gotten progressively better, and he's just done nothing really with it. Like this team is just the sum of their talent. Like this team would do this with me or you at coach, because this is just their talent. They're going to win some, they're going to lose some, and just sort of skirt through the year with 7, 8, 9 wins because they're just that talented. But I feel like I have 2 prompts that will get us to Caleb, because that's always going to be our talking point, but also probably get us out of here. So we've been talking about the positives. I want you all to tell me one positive in the Chicago Bears realm. It can't be the Cardinals, about the Chicago Bears based on that game. It has to be an in-game positive. What was something you saw that was positive?
Nas, do you want to go first, or do you want me to?
I mean, I'll just like elaborate on seeing Caleb make stuff happen before the rush like really got out of hand. I didn't love the play calling, but there was opportunities to get yards, and the ref crew didn't help us, but still Caleb was fighting through all that. The end of first quarter, false start on Mercedes Lewis might have been the worst call I've seen all season. It was a phantom call, and it's like, so we're not even gonna snap the ball. We like, everyone knows we're not snapping this ball. We're gonna lose 5 yards. It was like the funniest, dumbest thing I've ever seen. So, but I did, Caleb in the first half, I thought he played well. The red zone stuff kind of sucked, but I thought between the 20s he was strong and at least got us in scoring position.
In those refs' defense, real quick on that false start, I assume what happened was they saw Mercedes Lewis come into the game and they were like, all right, here comes the flag, because that's apparently his thing, is he just comes in, gets a false start, they bench him, and then move on to next week. I don't know why he's still on this roster. That's a good one. Frank, I have a sneaky one here for you.
Oh, I'm ready for it.
I want to give a shout out to the pass blocking by the running backs, because I was watching some of that game film, and it wasn't just, Roshan. That's kind of like his specialty. Like DeAndre Swift, man, he gives you a little something in the pass block, and he did miss one. He did miss an assignment. I'm not gonna say that didn't happen. But overall, like when he makes contact with when those 2 dudes were making contact, they were freeing some things up. I had to shout that out, because it was definitely something that, out of the very few positives from this game, that definitely stood out to me.
Yeah, no, those are. It's funny that's one of the few. I have a positive and negatives list. That was one that did make it on there. Was especially in the first half, the blitz pickup by the running backs was very good. My one positive is they found their guy in Rome Odunze. His film, we've been talking about this. I don't think as much on the podcast, just because it's with one episode. There's only so much you can cram in, 1 episode per week. His film has looked the best consistently since week 1. He's getting open. His route tree is very good. He can run every route. I don't think they've moved him around as much as I'd like them to. I think he can do some slot stuff. I think he can do both sides of the field. But I think the stats moving forward will continue to reflect this, especially with DJ Moore's attitude. But yeah, he's legit. He's a very, very good wide receiver, and I think that'll be, as long as he can stay healthy, from years to come. So that was very good to see. Okay, y'all. Next prompt, which I think will lead us into Caleb fairly seamlessly. This episode for me, and really my mindset, outside of being sad, but I'll be fucking happy when the blue wave happens tomorrow, fellas. Is really just about readjusting my and our expectations of this team. Going in, I don't think anyone was like, yeah, surefire playoffs. But I also don't think coming in we were like, yeah, by week 9 we're gonna be in the fucking dumps and kind of know this ain't happening, right? Like I don't think anyone came in with that mindset. So
that was worst case scenario.
Right, exactly. Which is usually it lands in the middle between like best case and worst case. We're really trending towards worst case here. Pennsylvania, was won by Trump type of thing. So I mean, I guess where are you guys at with this right now? Where are your expectations? What are you looking forward to on a weekly basis? Like what just in that realm, where's your mind space at?
I mean, we're right back to 2021, that season where it was just like, I don't care what happens with this team. I just want to see Justin Fields play well. and last year as well, I guess, where it's just like we know the team isn't going to be very good, but let's see what Justin's got. Let's see if he can prove that he's going to be the start, the future of this franchise. And I'm definitely not there with Caleb. Like there's been no point where I'm like out on him. There are some concerns. We've talked about it on multiple podcasts here and there. The deep ball accuracy, the decision making, the slow reads at times. But again, I'm so on the train that it's just like it's gonna get better with a better offensive line, better coaching, better play calling. To me, like Nas was saying, like his best throws outside of the one underthrow to Rome, where it just shut the fuck up, everybody who, if he just leads him, you have been complaining that he can't complete shit down the field. Just fucking take what you get at this point. Shut up. His best throws were either from him creating by scrambling or they were dropped. Like that was what that game was. And again, I am not out on him literally at all. I think I saw something that like he's on pace for like 63 sacks, which would be like the 6th most of all time. Like that's it. What do you expect a rookie quarterback to realistically be doing behind an offensive line with this type of play calling, with a guy who legitimately does not know what Keenan Allen's skill set is? He's having him do everything outside of what he's good at. And then you also have this little tidbit. Bo Nix has as many targets as Cole Kmet has in the last 2 weeks. What the fuck are we doing here?
And
Caleb's
one more
fine,
touchdown.
And one more touchdown. Caleb is fine. This offense is just like I just want to see him do his best to improve and hopefully not get hurt at the end of meaningless games because the coach wants them to fight to the end. Bullshit.
Nas, where you at, man?
I mean, I feel like on these pods, like I've said it over and over again, I thought this was a playoff team going into this season, and I actually didn't even care if it was Justin or Caleb. I thought we were like that talented, and Flus has managed to fuck this up. So now I'm like at the point where like I feel a little dead inside, and I'm only watching Caleb. Like I'm only here for Caleb and just to see him get better, which he really has gotten better like throughout the season. I don't think there's any debate on that. The deep ball stuff, giving his guys more of a chance. I just really like, I guess my expectation or my hope is to see him get on the same page as some of these receivers when it comes to when we're throwing back shoulder, when we're going over the outside shoulder. Like it never seems like anyone's thinking the same, like no one's on the same page. So it's like I'm hoping with him and Rome and DJ specifically, those three is where I want to see more chemistry build throughout the entire season. That's what I would really love. Now Caleb has to be standing up to make those throws and not running for his life to make those throws. So I'm concerned, and I'm only watching for him to like make sure his head doesn't get fucked up because he's gonna die every week, and he can actually keep his eyes down the field.
Yeah, no, it sounds like we're all in a pretty similar space. Jack, I'm literally right there with you though. Like this feels last year of Fox, last year of Nagy, where you're just like, I don't care. Let the rookie play as much. Do your thing. Don't get him killed. Hopefully the next guys can actually have a solid scheme around him. I guess, so I don't want to rehash that. You all said, everything that comes with that. I think the one thing, I guess coupling with what you just said, Nas, is it's weird. Like I'm concerned about it for this year with Caleb's accuracy on certain throws and like not being on the same page. I don't peg that to be on him it's not like some one person to blame there. That's just the whole operation that's a mess, because that should be coached out of guys too, to know what they're looking at, to know what they're supposed to both be doing there. So I'm right there with you. But long term, there was a stat that I saw. I tried to find it again, but I couldn't remember. But like Joe Burrow, his rookie year, and he had a phenomenal rookie year. He completed like 19% or 18% of his deep throws. Like And he also had an awful offensive line. Like a lot of his inaccuracies due to him not having as much time to be able to set his feet, and he's throwing some of these with just arm. Not to make excuses for him. There are times where he is able to step up and he's just missed throws. But again, I'm not here to put things under a microscope. Everyone misses throws. I got the game on right now, and Pat Mahomes just missed a fairly wide open deep throw. It was like a 40-yard pass that he just missed. That it happens. Shit happens. But in terms of just, watching him, the one thing that you all didn't touch on that I do think we can see very tangible progress as the years go on. There's been at least 2 games, to my memory it's 2, it may have been another one, where he comes out of the gate and he's just like a little too antsy. He's a little too amped up. He's a little too nervous. I don't know what it is. And I want him to develop that like even-keeled, let's let this whole thing play out.
I think it's because he doesn't know what he's going to be seeing because they don't script any fucking plays.
Yeah,
they don't
I mean,
do
maybe
anything during the week. Like he's just coming out and being like, "Well, let's see what coverage they start off in, and I'll have to check guys into the right spots." Like it's if you how many I want to count next week. I want to count how many fucking checks he's doing at the start of the game because again. Another fucking slow start. Another first quarter where they don't score any fucking points. This is an offense. You have all of these guys. You cannot be scoring 9 points. You can't. You can't do that. And it's so frustrating because again, Frank, it's something that you and I talked about last year and into this year where it's like Caleb feels like that quarterback where it's like, okay, it's 3rd and 9. But it doesn't feel like the end of the world. Like you're like, all right, let's see what they got. Because Caleb gives you a chance to convert a 3rd and 9 where he runs right and then he throws back to the middle of the field and is caught for a 15-yard gain. Like he can do that. Whereas like with Justin, it's like, all right, well, he's going to have to run for it. Let's see if he can get a block. It's just Caleb is just so very clearly the most talented quarterback that the Bears have ever had. And it's just so frustrating that we're in this scenario again, where it's like they're trying their best to fuck this up in any possible way.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's almost like they don't want to coach him. Like he's so gifted and like is already so smart that they're like, all right, yeah, like let's roll with this. They're not expecting how Caleb can diagnose already and make these checks and stuff. So let's coach him less and let him run the show. But it's like, no. He's still a rookie quarterback. like let's like gradually do this. But it's like it just feels like so much is on his plate already. Like it's all riding on him. It's like, how the fuck are you developing this guy? I don't really understand. Like you're treating him like he doesn't need to improve when he very clearly does. And he can improve on things if they're simplified.
Yeah.
Like his footwork, like where the reads are, the deep ball accuracy. But he's making checks, he's reading the defense, he's calling out the mics, he's making all the protection adjustments himself. And also and that's a refer back to like the comparison to Jaden that we're seeing, but like Jaden's 2 years older than him. So everyone's always fucking talking about how like calm and cool Jaden is. He's like, well, yeah, he's like in his mid-20s. Like Caleb's 22, and he's always been like the best of the best in his age bracket. And I actually don't see anything to counteract that in any way. Like I still think he's really gifted, and his on the run accuracy as a thrower is fucking elite. It's fucking crazy. And it is. I think
Special
why the
stuff.
deep ball stuff is so weird is because those throws actually look easier than most of the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
And it's like, why is he missing that? He's
I think
good enough for this.
I think that kind of proves your point, Nas, and just in general what we're talking about, where it's like those deep ball throws, he's not in any sort of rhythm. It looks like he's more of like playing from the statue pocket passer. And we've talked about this as well. Like he wants to be a pocket passer, but there's different ways to be a pocket passer. There's different ways to move the pocket to get him in a rhythm on the run, and not necessarily even running for his life, but just moving and making those throws a little bit easier for him. Like I just said, in a rhythm. And it's like Waldron is so determined to make him this type of quarterback, to run his system. It's once again trying to prove you're the smartest guy in the room, that your offense works, where it's just like, I'll fully admit it. I was completely wrong about the bye week and how detrimental it was going to be, because I was convinced that this was just going to be a thing where it's like, all right, they beat the shit out of some bad teams. They figured out a lot of this stuff. They're going to keep it going. Let's get some guys healthy and let's go. They didn't get anybody healthy. The offense completely fucking fell apart. Just, it went right back to doing things that just don't make any sense. Like, I just don't understand how Cole Kmet has 1 target in 2 weeks and your offense looks like this. Like, it just, how does that happen without there being some sort of big change that comes with that? And Matt Eberflus is just, nah, come on, everything's fine. It's fine. We're good.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy that we're in 3 receiver sets as much as we are. It's crazy that Kmet isn't chipping a lineman every single play. It's absolutely crazy that Kmet's not lined up on the left side every single play chipping somebody. Like, it's remarkable. It's
Yeah.
really, and it's hard to watch, man, and it's for sure it's tough.
Well, I think with that, it's also crazy that we already have 2 games where Caleb has thrown the ball 50 times. That's nuts. All right, Nazi, catch you later. We only have a couple more minutes, ladies and gents.
All right,
Naz
boys.
is checking out.
Thank you,
But
Naz.
I mean, the like the path to watchability, even, because again, we don't think they're gonna win many more of these remaining games. I think they probably beat New England. Nothing else on the schedule looks winnable outside of
What's your confidence level on that? What's your confidence level on that?
Out of 10?
Because they're a 7-point favorite to beat New England.
Out of 10?
Yeah, out of 10.
Like a strong 6, just because this defense does things the rookie quarterbacks like, and Jacoby Brissett, if he were to play, it wouldn't be, you know, a game. But the point that I'm making is, again, it's not about winning and losing. We've said this before. We're not even at the point, and we never have been as Bears fans, where like winning and losing is like the end all be all. Where again, by any means necessary, you know, that Hail Mary dropped is like, yeah, fuck yeah. I still would have had my qualms. I want to be a watchable football team, and what that starts with is running the football more with DeAndre Swift, because you guys both had sort of tidbits of what DeAndre did well and the positives, but he's running the ball really fucking well right now. Really, really well right now. And Shane is just like, nah, we're not gonna do anything with that.
It always, when I see that, when I see like Swift run with like an 8-yard run, and I'm like, all right, there we go. And then they go right back to the passing game, and it's like, it makes me think of our early days of the Corked Up podcast, where you brought it up and you said it feels like Nagy runs the ball just to say, okay, I ran the ball. Now we can get back to dropping back and throwing it, just chucking this bitch up. And it's just, every time I see it, I think of that, and it's just, it's so frustrating, especially because, look, we're a fan podcast. We have no inside sources. We have no superior knowledge of, in-depth knowledge of coaches, who these guys are, their schemes, how they operate. So when the three of us are excited that Shane Waldron is hired as the OC, we're going off things that we've seen, how the Seattle offenses look, the work with Geno Smith. But then you also see media people who do all have a little bit more access to these guys, and they were also excited. Like, I would say 8 out of 10 people, Bears fans, were excited about the Shane Waldron hire, right? And then the Jackson Smith and Jigba stuff comes out, and you're like, yeah, okay, all right, that makes me a little bit nervous, but hey, that's just that's a rookie wide receiver. He didn't get the ball that much. Maybe he's a little bit disgruntled. And now it's just like, everything again is just, I feel like everything is worst case scenario at this point, except for the quarterback. Because worst case scenario is that Caleb Williams ended up looking like Bryce Young in his rookie season. And that's so far from the truth.
Jack, no, you're right in terms of play. Worst case scenario is getting a major injury because of this offensive line.
Or leaving him out there at the end of the meaningless game
That's what I
because
mean.
you
Like,
don't want your guys to quit.
Yeah.
Fucking stupid. I did not think there was a chance that that Matt Eberflus was going to get fired after the game because it's just not what they do.
Right.
Until I saw Caleb Williams in at the end of the game and heard what he said about it afterwards. And it's just like, if you're George McCaskey, if you're Ryan Poles, how do you not hear your head coach who's been just embattled with all of this stuff? You have players questioning coaches, they like to say it's transparent locker room. It feels more fractured than anything at this point. How do you hear that head coach say that and allow him to keep his job? That is the number one overall pick. You traded so much, you prepared so much to get this guy. And your lame duck head coach wanted to keep him in at the end of the game, and he gets hurt. Like, listen, other franchise, Frank, any other franchise is saying, no, we're done. We're done. That's fucking ridiculous. The Saints got their asses kicked by this Panthers team, and they said, all right, Dennis, get the fuck out of here, man. Like, get the fuck out. The Raiders, they gave Luke Getsy, Gardner Minshew, and Aiden O'Connell, and then traded their best wide receiver and said, nah, get the fuck out of here. But for the Bears, it's just like, well, we can't, during the season, we can't do that. Come on. This is the Bears. We don't do that. We wait until the season is over to fire coaches. Like, what's the moral high ground there? When you fucking know.
No, for sure. I agree with you. I feel like if we had another coordinator, because this season can still be saved. Let me say that. Like, we're 4-4. We're in the playoff hunt. Like, it's not the vibes are down, and we feel that way because we know what the fuck is happening, and it's all to do with Eberflus, right? But I would feel something about firing him mid-season if I felt like we had a coordinator that could step in and like right the ship. Who the fuck is stepping up and being the head coach of this team? Is Shane Waldron gonna backdoor his way into being head coach? Like, I don't.
All right. Here's my one argument against that, because I agree, because I don't think maybe Eric Washington, because from what I've heard and what I've understood, if there's one coach who presents themselves very well to the media in general, it's Eric Washington, the defensive coordinator. He doesn't call plays. Obviously, that's Matt Eberflus. So maybe you go that route. But I would agree with you about, like, well, if this coaching staff isn't kept around, what's the difference? Like, it's not like Shane Waldron's going to be promoted to OC, to head coach. Like, what's the point? My thing, Frank, is, though, I feel like you have an opportunity to send a message to this team that says, we will hold you accountable at the highest level. We don't care if you're a third stringer. Don't care if you're a starter. We don't care if you're an assistant coach. We don't care if you're a head coach. If you are not performing up to the expectations that we set, you're gone. You're out of here. That's it. We're done. Frank, there's still 9 games left to play. There's still 9. Like, there's still meaningful football left to go. And if you feel like this season is slipping away from you, why waste it? Why waste that opportunity? They're 4-4. Absolutely, they should be 6-2. With better coaching, they're 6-2, right? There's no doubt about that.
Yep, 100%.
Maybe even 7-1. Realistically, they should probably be 7-1 at this point. But they're bad. They're poorly coached. They're undisciplined. So they're 4-4. They are what their record shows. But if you feel like you have an opportunity, the entire division is coming up in front of you. Granted, the schedule is going to be a lot harder, but you have an opportunity, again, to send that message through the locker room that says, we will hold anybody accountable. Do it. Get rid of him. What's the point in keeping him?
That's fair. That's fair. But again, I'm just like so over. I'm just over it. Like, it's again, I guess where my mind is, if I felt like we had somebody to be in there, be like, all right, we have a better shot to turn this thing around with Eric Washington or Shane Waldron
and that's internal, right? We're not going to know that. That's internal, right?
Yeah, or even like Kerry Joseph. Like, so I mean, I would feel more the I would even have like more thoughts about firing him mid-season. But I get what you're saying, and I agree with that. That is a phenomenal point. If we were in a debate, you won the debate. I would have conceded. But it's I just like don't even fucking care enough at this point, man. Like,
but you didn't even yell about eating cats and dogs yet. Matt
no,
Eberflus, is
I
he
mean,
out there?
fuck, not yet, dude. I'm
doing
fucking
that?
tired. Let me tell you about the late great Hannibal Lecter. I mean, it's dude. I mean, what Nas said is that's what I feel like. I feel sadness. Honestly, my sadness comes more because I don't want to say too many bad things about Caleb, but I think his floor is a little bit lower than I thought it was coming out. Again, a lot of this is not his fault, but that's where my sadness comes because the ugly is rearing its head, and we painted what the ugly could have been. So that's not taking me by surprise at all. It's like we're down 29-9, and it's like he's missing throw. I mean, it's now granted receivers still should catch these in the NFL, but it's like they're not on the numbers. It's not where I want it to be. And again, it's not advocating that Justin Fields should still be here. Caleb is the better quarterback now. He's going to continue to be as he gets better. But like, I guess that's where the sadness comes. Like, I guess I put too much on his plate in terms of like just make us watchable. I don't care if we win games. And to what you said earlier is he's the most talented easily. He's probably already the best. He didn't have the resume yet to beat like a Cutler or some of these guys who were here for years with the compounding stats, but just the eye test. And we're still unwatchable. This is an ugly football. I don't want to be unwatchable.
Unless we're playing the other terrible teams in the league, apparently.
Yeah. So that's just where I'm at with everything, and it's just not a good feeling.
I agree with you, and I think you're more than it's more than fair to feel that sadness and that frustration, because I do think context is key, right? And we've said that's like if there was a theme of this podcast, it's context is key. And when you look around Chicago, the sport, Frank Nas, brought it up earlier in regards to ownership. And it's just like everything is as bad as it could be for every single team in the city. And the one hope was that this Bears team that looked to be on the come up, they had a very good defense. They had the number 1 overall pick. They had the weapons. They surrounded him with weapons. They did what they needed to do. But in the back of our brains, at least on this podcast, was just always that, is this the right head coach? Was that the correct decision? We're going to give Ryan Poles the benefit of the doubt. And 8 games in, and we're back again. Here we are again. Here we go again, where it's like we're questioning, okay, is the GM as good as we thought? Is this quarterback as good as we thought? Is it going to be the high point? And it's just like they have once again put Bears fans in situations where we are overly having to explain every single fucking part of the offense. It's not as simple as the receivers aren't showing effort. It's not as simple as the offensive line is just bad. It's not simple that it's a rookie quarterback making some mistakes. It's not as simple as the running game is just terrible. It's everything. And we have to go through every single game breaking down why something didn't work. And it's fucking exhausting to have to put that on your fans, especially when you have other fan bases trying to clown you, specifically the typical ones, Green Bay, Minnesota, whatever. But then you also have now Washington coming out of nowhere, where it's like, look at their OC. Look at what Cliff Kingsbury's doing with Jaden. And is it sustainable? Again, it's 8 games. It's halfway through the season. There's still plenty of time to turn things around. But it's just like, you put yourselves in these situations and your fans in these situations where you have to question everything because of the decision making. And to me, Frank, here's kind of my overall final point. And people keep saying, how does this keep happening with the Bears and the quarterbacks and the coach? Like, how does this keep happening? I'll tell you how. If there was any doubt that ownership fucking matters with these franchises, that should be completely gone, because ownership is more important than anything else. If you're an ownership group that wants to win, not just sit back and be fans of the team, then you'll do the necessary things that great franchises do. But when you're the Bears, it's just like, well, we don't want to be bad guys. We don't want to fire somebody during the season. We don't think of those optics. Think of how that would look. It's like, just, it's got to change at some point. Until it does, we're just going to keep seeing this same shit.
Yeah, agreed. No, I mean, we've been talking about ownership, until we were blue in the face, many episodes. So, there's a lot wrong with it. We know. I would like, I don't even know like what I'm rooting for though. Like that's the problem. Like I still want them to win because they can turn it around, but then it's like, do I want them to turn it around? Because then that gives Eberflus. I mean, we were talking about this a few weeks ago. That gives Eberflus a shot to stay, and it's like he can't. I don't care what OC you can hire. We need someone who builds this thing different. We need a different foundation.
Can I say this? And I will put this into the podcast ether. You heard it here on the Bear With Us podcast first. This is a must-win game for Matt Eberflus against the Patriots.
Yep.
Because I'll tell you this has a different feel to it, in my opinion. And they can say, keep the external noise. Dude, fuck you. It's not the fans. It's not the media causing these problems. We have players. You have players actively, out loud, questioning your coach's decisions. That's not outside noise. That's inside noise. And you refuse to take any sort of accountability for that. This is a must-win game for Matt Eberflus because I genuinely feel like if they lose to this Patriots team, it's over. There's no coming back from that. All the division games are there for you. You're not going to, it's just obviously they're not going to beat those teams if you can't beat the Patriots. But if we don't see what we saw against the Jaguars and the Panthers, that offensive explosion, if we see this team come out flat again, if we see the undisciplined mistakes, the penalties, the turnover, if we see any of that, the drops, it's over.
Yep.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
And the thing is though, is they're going to go through, even if they, if they lose the game, they're going to go through sort of the same thing that happened in Nagy's last year. And this is really my last point. We can end it. It's going to be, we're changing the play caller. We're doing this a little bit different. We got to do, like, you sort of rewire, instead of firing, it's like rewiring who does what and their job descriptions just to see if anything sticks at that point. And that's what's going to happen if they lose to the Patriots. Kerry Joseph will call plays for a few games, and if he's not great at it, so-and-so else will. Matt Eberflus may let Eric Washington take over the defensive play call. I mean, we're going to see the rigmarole of all the last-ditch efforts to save your job at that point.
That's why I was genuinely shocked that he didn't change offensive play callers, because like the heat is coming down, and I assume if they were playing maybe a better team, maybe the Lions were coming up, the Packers, maybe they would have made this change now. But maybe they're gonna say, hey, listen, this is an exposed team. This is a team that just, what was it, let up 27 points or something like that to Mason Rudolph. Like, this is a team where we can get right again and right this thing. And maybe that's the answer, but I mean, we got to see it. Like any confidence that they've built amongst their fans, amongst whatever. Like, we were talking about how great the NFC North was only a couple weeks ago, and you let one Hail Mary decide your season, one completely fluke play, even though it kind of wasn't a fluke play because you did nothing to prevent it, because you're a bad head coach. And your game management sucks and is awful and terrible and just bad overall. Like, I totally get Bears fans' frustrations. I can't even muster the energy to defend Caleb at this point, because it's just like, I get it. I get why fans are frustrated. Now, that being said, there's always context to it. Caleb definitely did not play as bad as that box score would lead you to believe. Not even just the drops, Frank, but the timing of those drops when they happened.
They were huge. That Rome play,
huge.
That extends that drive, and who knows what happens after that. Same thing with the Keenan
or
play.
the Keenan third down. Yeah. I mean, and look, I have my personal concerns with DJ Moore. I've aired them out. Get him the ball. Just take Keenan out of this equation. I get you traded a 4th round pick for him. he cannot be the focal point of the pass game. He just can't. That does nothing for your development, whether it's with Caleb, whether it's with Rome. Get DJ the ball, get Cole involved, sit Keenan back a little bit, because those drops can't happen, man.
Trade him. Get whatever you can get back. There are injuries all across the league.
I'm watching the Buccaneers play right now with Trey Palmer and Sterling Shepard. Like,
I'm a happy man on Wednesday if the fucking country's blue and Keenan Allen is elsewhere.
It's just like, I don't understand how this happened, and that's probably where I'm most frustrated.
Yep.
Because it's just same old, and it could have been avoided. It could have been avoided because if those reports are true that Ben Johnson could have been the head coach, you just lost a year where you could have had that continuation of Caleb Williams.
And now, the other problem is now he's on more radars. He was kind of the NFC North's.
Yeah, are they going to be able to afford him?
Yeah. He was kind of the best kept secret in the league at that point at OC. I know he had interest elsewhere, but yeah, that also
maybe we have to talk about potential other options, because maybe Joe Brady.
Yeah,
with the Bills.
Again, but you know me though. I don't even want to discuss that until it's here. We're in week.
It is here.
There's nothing that Eberflus could do to save his job, but
yes, there is. Yes, there is. He can sweep the Packers.
Even then, he'd have to sweep the Packers and make the playoffs and compete and or win a playoff game, and he's just not doing that. He's so far past just the low bar of beating the. Not that I don't mean low, like they've owned us, but I mean like. If those are the only two wins he has the rest of the year, that's not saving his season. That's not saving his job, I mean.
A good head coach has this team at the very least 6-2.
I agree.
A great head coach has this team at 7-1.
No. A run-of-the-mill head coach has this team at 6-2.
A good head coach has them at 7-1.
Yes, like he's actively lost us these games. We reeled off the crazy statistics. He actively loses games. I sent y'all a tweet. I should have saved it. I didn't even bother to do too much prep this guy. I stopped taking notes in the middle of the third quarter. I usually favorite some tweets that have some stats and things, and I try to give them the credit when we're on the podcast. But there was one tweet that this has gone back. The leads that he's blown late in the fourth quarter have gone back to him being a DC in Indy. Like it's bad. The stats on him are bad. There's nothing. There's nothing to me. Maybe he can do something with Ryan Poles to save his job. In me, he's cooked. You'd have to win a Super Bowl. That's what you'd have to do.
Yeah. Again, though, it's frustrating because we called it. We called it. I mean, I'll raise my hand and said I had my initial concerns were in that New England game, and that ended up winning. But when you blow those games last year, to me that just supersedes talent. Like that's not a talent thing. That's just who you are as a coach, and that to me is those were huge red flags that just were ignored for whatever reason. And you and I think we were on the dot with. I still do think that we are correct in our assumption that they just Ryan Poles wanted Matt Eberflus to have a chance to coach a good team. Right. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If Matt Eberflus was an asshole, I'd be like, okay, yeah, probably not. But he's a good dude. He got that locker room to buy in. A lot of those guys bought in when he came on. But if you and I can see it, I just don't understand how a GM can't look past what, especially with a guy with Ryan Poles' track record, where he doesn't. He's I'm not going to say he's cold-hearted, but he's very realistic. At least he was with the player side of it. He knew Roquan was well liked in the locker room and a well respected.
I think that was easier than we think. He was a weird dude.
But with the fan base, things like that.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
And so like he makes tough decisions, and that was a tough decision that unfortunately, in my opinion, he made the wrong decision, and it's frustrating because again, it just feels like a wasted year with a quarterback that we've never seen before, and this is kind of I'm gonna try and leave our listeners with some hope. with some optimism. I don't think that the decision to keep Matt Eberflus will ultimately have a negative impact on Caleb Williams' overall career, because I think he's so good that he can supersede a lot of this stuff that he's doing. He's already learned so much. And I just think with a better play caller, hopefully with a better offensive line, hopefully with wide receivers that get engaged again, maybe that changes a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I generally agree. I do still want him to improve on some of the areas we mentioned as the year goes on, and I'd feel more comfortable with that same. But I generally
that's
agree
tangible
with it.
to me, Frank. Real quick, and not to cut you off, that is tangible ways to grow, and I think that's what we were looking for most from Justin's tenure. Where and I guess Mitch to a degree as well, where it's like it's not, they don't have to improve everything. Right? They have to improve parts of their game. And you know who that's true for? Every single quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
Look at CJ Stroud right now. Like, he was anointed the next coming of Jesus, the next great quarterback, and he's severely struggled in his second. It takes time. But the flashes, the flashes I've seen from Caleb, as Nas said before he left, the throws on the run, that's special shit, man. Like, you can't tell me it's not. And some of those throws that he was making that were not complete were incredible throws that just, I think of that Keenan Allen one where he just kind of loses where he is on the sideline and he steps out. That's a great throw. I'm not concerned about Caleb. I really am not. Hopefully they make the correct decision. Yeah, right.
Long run,
so
no. Rest of this year, for a multitude of reasons, I'm concerned for him, mostly for his safety.
Just right, exactly. Keep him healthy, please. And again, if there is any doubt that Matt Eberflus isn't doing that, he needs to go. He needs to be fired, because I think Ryan Poles absolutely deserves to hire a second head coach. And I'm shocked to see how many Bears fans have already turned on him. That blows my mind, to be completely honest.
I highly doubt we're going to even entertain that at any facet on this podcast. He's going to hire a new head, and he deserves to. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. If Ryan Pace can,
yeah. I mean, that is the arc of most GMs, and he's drafted better for us than, since Angelo at the very least.
There was a point that I wanted to make, but I just don't think there's enough time to do so. That I do want to talk about down the road, and it's that, because Nas brought it up about the Lions, where he said, I wanted to do what the Lions did, build how they built their offense. And what I don't think is a direct comparison is the Lions have had pieces to that offensive line that they were able to build over the years, whereas like, you wonder, a lot of this offensive line criticism has come down to Ryan Poles, but I don't think it's that simple, in my opinion, Frank. A lot of this stuff comes back to Ryan Pace. And I know we've always wanted to move past that era, but it's like, you go back and you look at his draft classes, what he did with the offense. The cupboards were so bare for Ryan Poles. We talked about it for years. He can only do so much in an offseason, but the way that he just chose to not invest, it's unfortunate. It really, really is. So, and it's just a franchise thing at this point.
Yep. Yeah. It just is what it is. And we hope that, this is going to be we've said it, this will be the real off season for him to prove that he knows how to scout and develop these guys. And all we can do is hope in the meantime that we can be watchable and Caleb doesn't get killed. That's literally it.
Just literally from last year. That's literally what we were talking about last year. God damn.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This has been the Bear With Us podcast. Hopefully this was a good venting session for you listeners. Hopefully we made some good points. If you want to leave some comments on our YouTube page, what was your one positive of the game? Was it Rome? Was it pass blocking RBs? Was it, a corner, Terrell Smith? He looked pretty good coming in for Tyreek Stevenson.
And he got hurt.
That a positive? And he got hurt. I'm trying to leave with positives, Frank. Come on,
Oh.
help me out here a little bit.
My bad.
We really do genuinely appreciate you listening and all the support we've gotten. So thank you. Continue to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And hopefully we will be talking about a Bears win against the Patriots, and we're right back on the Super Bowl train. Till then, thank you so much for listening. We appreciate it. Frankie, talk to you next week, man.
16-14 Bears. Later, Jackie. Later, everybody.